The report that the psychiatrist made stated in part, Edmund Kemper is no longer a danger to society. He, in fact, is no more dangerous to society than the motorcycle that he rides.
In 2018, we interviewed the detective who caught one of America's most infamous serial killers, Edmund Kemper.
The strange thing is here, during that interview, Cynthia Shaw's head was in the back seat of Edmund Kemper's car. You pray nobody else is out there like that again.
Unbeknown to cops, the callous killer was hiding in plain sight.
Kemper is a very intelligent young man. His IQ is very high. He has a good personality, a great personality. Very polite, he gets along with people, easy to talk to.
In under a year, Kemper murdered 7 women and a 15-year-old girl while living in Santa Cruz County, Northern California. He would typically dismember and sexually desecrate the bodies.
As he would say later, it's all about sex. It's having sex with people. Unfortunately, they're dead at the time. But he also, very practically, cut them into pieces. Why would that be? Because they're easier to move around, easier to hide. Now, this man is 6'9". He weighed almost 300 pounds. But he had an arm injury. Partly the reason why he dismembered all these people was it made it easier for him to carry the body parts and dispose of them. A couple that were out hiking and walking their dog came across these heads, and to tell you the truth, it didn't spark any special interest, not in us as detectives or the community. Unfortunately, that area is a common place for people to dump bodies, from San Jose to the mountains. So we thought, it's another San Jose murder. We couldn't even determine who these people were right away. They were heads, and in at least one of the victims had the teeth removed. You know, we were scouring missing person reports and trying to put that together. You know, we're used to 5 or 6 homicides a year, whether it be people in arguments or relatives committing murder against one another, things that law enforcement is confronted with. People know the city of Santa Cruz by its beaches, and these people were found, or body parts of these people were found in the sand, sticking out of the sand. So you can imagine now the fright in the community. You know, what is going on? There's a lot of pressure to try to find out what's happening. We know part of these victims have been hitchhiking. So we're trying to say, stop hitchhiking. And there was a big backlash from that. You have to remember now, it's flower power, it's protest of the Vietnam War, it's freedom, it's our lives, and the man can't tell us what to do. And part of the protests from Vietnam is we were the pigs. The pigs can't tell us what to do. We're not going to stop hitchhiking. It is our right. So we had this conflict. During the time period of late 71 through the beginning of 73, 2 serial killers were operating in the same place at the same time and did not know one another. Edmund Emil Kemper killed 8 people. Herbert William Mullen killed 13. So when you only have 8 detectives to begin with, it was starting to be confusing. And you start having a crime scene with 2 children murdered and a mom. First, it looked like it was a drug type of scenario. The place was all tore up. 2 days later in the city of Santa Cruz, 2 other people are found shot to death. No seeming connection at the time. We didn't know who was killing who. Subsequently, we identified the heads of Mary Ann Pesch and Anita Luquesa. Those were the victims that were found by the hikers on Summit Road. They were reported missing from the Berkeley area. They were students up in the East Bay. We find out that these two young women were hitchhiking, and they were last seen getting into a car, but we really didn't have much of a description other than they had gotten into a car. There was a male in the car. There was a vague description of the car, light blue, something like that. Unbeknownst to us, those were the first two victims of Edmund Emil Kemper. You can imagine now the fright in the community. You know, what is going on? At the same time, we were finding not co-eds, but an older man was found bludgeoned to death on the side of Highway 9. So now, as investigators, we're coming upon these murder scenes and we're thinking, this is pretty unusual. There has to be some connection, but the evidence never connected. This one really hurt me. This was really a difficult victim for me. Aiko Koo was this beautiful young Korean American girl who lived with her mother, who worked in the library at the University of California at Berkeley. Her mother was dedicated to this young girl. She was 15 years old. She was learning how to dance and take ballet, and her mom made her costumes. She was a great student. She's 15, she doesn't drive. She was at a bus stop and she missed the bus. She didn't want to be late for the dance class. She started to look for rides. And Edmund Kemper was cruising the area looking for victims and pulled over. She got in the car. He drove across the Bay Bridge to San Francisco, but just kept driving. And this young girl knows now she is driving through San Francisco, not where she wants to go. He gets to Highway 1 and is now traveling south towards Santa Cruz. And she is just panicked and crying and wants to be let out. And he makes a turn on a country road. She has a chance here. He pulls into a field on the edge of a forest. He's going to kill her. He gets out of the car to get a weapon out of the trunk, a knife. She locks the door. She locks him out of the car, but she's terrified. She doesn't know how to drive. She doesn't know how to start the car, let alone drive the car. As he explained to us later, he spent over an hour coaxing her, encouraging her to unlock the car and let him in. And she did. And she was killed. In his discussions later, it was, as I recall, it was things like, "I'm sorry, I'll let you go, let me in, I won't harm you." So as we're moving through a number of bodies, now remember there's some dismembered bodies, but there's other bodies. In the beginning, we were thinking that they're all connected, but they're really all not connected. Clearly, there was a pattern in the co-eds. Number one, they're young student women. They are stabbed to death. They are dismembered. Common. This is one set of crimes. The thread that weaved between them was hitchhiking. Cynthia Shaw, she lived very close to the village of Capitola. She hitchhiked most of the time. By now, Edmund Kemper lives in another kind of a beach cliff community about 2 miles from Capitola called Sea Cliff. It's a little apartment on Ord Street. He picks up Cynthia Shaw. The scenario is the same. Stabs her to death, has sex with a dead body, cuts her into pieces, throws her in the ocean in 2 different places. Later on, he told us, I was shocked when those body parts washed up on Cowles Beach. What really struck him was he drove 40 miles south of Santa Cruz to Monterey, California, another beach community on the other side of the bay, and tossed body parts down a steep cliff into the ocean, and they washed up. Two more victims come to our attention. Just up the north coast of Santa Cruz, 4 miles out of town, Highway 1. These 2 bodies they're found shot. A departure. Everything thus far has had to do with a knife. These bodies are shot and they are not cut up. We think there's a connection, but we're thrown off by the fact that they're killed with a gun. We track them back to the campus at UCSC. Somebody last saw them getting into a car, kind of a blue car, and driving off a campus. Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu were our next 2 victims. Kemper later said that stabbing all these victims to death was getting to be a lot of work. It was starting to bother him. A lot of blood. He was cleaning everything. So he went and bought a gun. Purchased a gun, and Thorpe and Liu were the first victims of the gun that he purchased. It was easy for him to get on and off of the campus at the University of California at Santa Cruz because his mother worked there, and he had a sticker, like an employee sticker, because sometimes his mother took his car or he took his mother to work. So there was a kiosk at one of the gates that you could drive through. If you had a sticker on your car, you could come and go. He would later tell us that he departed from cutting them up because he actually shot them as he drove off a campus. He was traveling down in towards the city of Santa Cruz. He just turned and shot them. One was in the back seat, one was in the front seat. He was worried that somebody might have heard that shot because he was so close to the campus. So he got a little bit afraid. So he got rid of the bodies right off the freeway. So that was a complete departure from what we had seen, and it really kind of threw us, to tell you the truth. We weren't connecting these 2 right away. He would go to a place called the Jury Room. It's a bar across from the courthouse. A lot of cops hang out there. A lot of people that work in the courts hang out there. Lawyers hung out there. He didn't push himself onto anybody that I saw. I have friends that had talked to him there. To me, it was almost like he was listening. Are any of the detectives there talking about any of these murder cases? Is he getting any information from us? Very interesting. But he blended in very well there. A records clerk at the sheriff's office finds a 3x5 card, Edmund Emil Kemper, same as on the dealer record of sale for the gun. It had been blacked out. All the information is blacked out. Why? Because his record had been sealed. But she could read through the blackout, and it said 187 PC, Madera, California. 187 PC is the California Penal Code for murder. Madera County was where he killed his grandparents many, many years ago. She brought that card to the detective lieutenant in the bureau and said, this gun has already been delivered to this guy. I'm not so sure he's supposed to have it, but his record is sealed. When he was 15 years old, he killed his grandparents, was convicted, and went to the California Youth Authority. The psychiatrist, in his report to the court, in part said that Edmund Kemper was rehabilitated, that he was no longer a danger to society. In fact, his motorcycle was more of a danger to society than he was. The problem with that whole thing, Cynthia Shaw's head was in a bag in the back seat of Edmund Kemper's car at the time of that interview with the psychiatrist. But there was a connection with Cynthia Shaw. Yes, he treated her just like the other co-eds that he murdered, but there was a connection that he talked about. He kept her head with him for quite some time. Kemper took that head to his house in Seacliff, buried it in the backyard, specifically for her face to be facing his bedroom window, as he told the investigators at the time, so there could be a communication. They sent 2 detectives out to 609 Ord Street, Kemper's house. Kemper wasn't there. They are going back to their car, and Kemper drives up in the 1969 Ford that had so many bodies in it and in the trunk. As they described it, they watched him get out of the car. Remember, he's 6'9". He's huge. He blocked out the sun. They identified themselves and made the inquiry about, did you buy a gun? He said, yes, I did. They said, we don't think you're supposed to have this gun and we want it. Now, he later said, I thought it was all a ruse. I thought they knew I was the guy. I was the killer. They took the gun, gave him a receipt, and they drove away. We did not know at that time that he was the killer, but he thought we knew. He thought we had tied a gun to the 2 females, Thorpe and Lou. He says, I knew I had to kill my mother. I didn't want to go through this all over again with her. Remember, he killed the grandparents. He said that was a tumultuous time between him and his mother. At 4 o'clock in the morning, while his mother slept, he took a hammer, went to her bed, and drove the hammer through her skull a number of times. He then spent the rest of the day into the afternoon cutting her into pieces, washing her completely clean in the bathtub, and hiding her body parts in the back of her closet. I was one of the officers who searched that house. You could tell by the smell there was a body there. We could not see it took us a while. He had this hateful, this love-hate relationship with her. He cut her head off, and before he hid the head with the rest of the body parts in the closet, he put it on the mantle and he threw darts at it, yelling at her. You're not gonna yell at me anymore. You're not gonna yell at me anymore. And he took her larynx and he put it in the garbage disposal. And he yelled into the garbage disposal, you're not gonna yell at me anymore. She walks in the door. He pretends to take her coat off, but just pushes it down over her arm so she can't move. Bludgeons her to death with his fists, stuffs her in the front closet. His car is already packed, and off he goes, heading west until he gets to Pueblo, Colorado. He goes to a phone booth, remember, no cell phones, and he dials the Santa Cruz Police Department. It's a Friday night, it's busy. Kemper calls, officer says, Santa Cruz Police Department, can I help you? I need to talk to Lieutenant Shear. He doesn't work on the weekends. You'll have to call back on Monday. I gotta put you on hold. He gets upset, he hangs up. He calls back and he finally says, hey, I got information about all those dead girls. Whoa, now we're paying attention. The officer's putting everything else on hold and does a great job. Keeps Kemper on the phone, talks to him enough to find out that he's in Pueblo, Colorado. He gets Pueblo, Colorado on the phone. Their police arrive at the phone booth. Kemper takes up the entire phone booth. They get him into custody, put put a hold on him, and the story now starts to get filled in and unraveled. And on the whole trip, Kemper connects every dot to every single case. And in doing so, it connected all the evidence to all the cases. They started out by saying, "Ed, can you tell us how all this started?" And he sat there like I am sitting here, and he said, "On such and such a date and such a time, I was in Berkeley, California. It was at 2:43 in the afternoon, and I saw Anita Luchessa and Marianne Pesh, and I put them in my car, picked them up while they were hitchhiking. I took them to Mount Diablo, where I stabbed them to death." And he proceeded through 8 murder cases just like that. You would think, okay, we have a confession. It doesn't really count unless you have the evidence to prove it. We had people coming in confessing to murders that had nothing to do with them. They were rabbit trails that took us months to unravel. But in this case, he was so precise, we were able to link the evidence to his statements to the crime scenes. So you would think it's open and shut, as the public would say, but it's not. Edmund Kemper pleaded not guilty. This case got to court in, I think, 8 months. It lasted about 2 months, and the jury came back with a conviction. And Edmund Kemper is still in prison as we speak. Edmund Kemper has not agreed, since he has been in custody, which is now most of his life, to any interviews with the media or any place else. He is in a prison in California. He is in a psychiatric unit. He did agree many, many years ago to help the FBI work through a number of serial killers in the United States. He gave lengthy interviews. He talked about his state of mind during all of this. He was very helpful. And I have to say, I appreciate the fact that he does that, because every criminal who's been in prison, who has done that, gives us a insight into the mind of somebody that we haven't worked yet. It gives us information that we can look to help us solve these cases faster. No matter how he appeared outwardly, he is the definition of violence and evil. And I thought for sure he would get the death penalty.
Edmund Kemper, who was denied parole in July 2024, remains inside the California Medical Facility in Vacaville. Capital punishment was suspended in California at the time of his sentencing, and he's currently serving 8 concurrent life sentences. Kemper will next be eligible for parole in 2031 at the age of 82. We hope you enjoyed this interview with Terry Medina and how he helped capture the co-ed killer Edmund Kemper. For more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button down below. We're uploading exclusive content on the world's most evil serial killers every week, so make sure to click the notification bell so you don't miss out. Until the next one.